Hi again, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of Sports Bash Spotlight. I'm Peter Schwartz. We are sponsored by TicketBash.com. We are here at Long Island University in Brookville, here on Long Island, and my guest on this edition of Sports Bash Spotlight is the new athletic director here at LIU, Elliot Charles. Welcome, and thanks for joining us. Congratulations on becoming the new full-time athletic director here.
Appreciate that, Pete. Couldn't be more excited to be with you today.
So this, we were joking off the air, but this, coming back to LIU first as the deputy athletic director was kind of a homecoming, for you. You're from Roosevelt here on Long Island, and you made your different stops, around the country. I know you were at Clemson and Alabama and a couple other stops along the way, but to ultimately come back here home to Long Island, that must have made you feel pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a really, really full circle, amazing feeling. And it was super intentional. My wife and I decided the next step that we were going to take had to be one where we were going to make a home, create some permanency, and LIU was the perfect fit for us.
I have to be completely transparent. I feel I have to, so because the social media people are gonna jump at me for doing the interview, but just to be completely transparent, people should know. And if you follow me on social media, you know that I'm one of the announcers here at LIU for hockey and lacrosse. But even more important than that, my son Bradley is going to be playing football here in the fall. So I just want to be transparent, and that still makes for a good working relationship when we do these interviews.
Well, yeah, always. And football, talk about football. Big season coming up for Coach Coop. We're excited about the progress he's made over the last several years, and just really excited to see what football season looks like.
We're going to get to Coach Cooper and the football program and some of the other programs here at LIU. But you coming in as full-time athletic director, obviously with any school, it's a challenge to be an athletic director, especially the Division 1 level. And here at LIU, when you come in and you become the athletic director, what strikes you about the job and the task at hand in growing all the programs here at LIU?
Well, I think one of the main things you got to figure out how to do is tell the story. Telling the story is part of keeping that brand identity. And here at LIU, we uniquely have 37 sports, most in the nation, right? I think we're also tied with Stanford for the number, or Harvard, number of championship sports we have. But I think bringing every single sports program to its best potential and really focusing on who we are as LIU, as Sharks, that's the number one challenge. And it's a huge opportunity for us. I think getting cohesion amongst all of our staffs and building that bench line of what success looks like, that benchmark of what success looks like it's easier said, quicker said than it is done. And it's a very intentional process. And taking the job initially, I thought I'd be part of that process, right? Now I'm supposedly, the torchbearer of it, and coaches are looking at me to really cultivate all that,
Recruiting is obviously a huge part of college athletics, and for you as an athletic director, how difficult is it now? Because it's a new culture now with college sports, with the transfer portal, and players are not necessarily staying in the same place for all 4 years. Now, as an athletic director, you mentioned sales before. How much of a salesperson do you have to be to help the coaches recruit the best possible players here to LIU?
Well, if you follow me on this one, it's like having a conversation about the greatest in any era. There's different things required in each era to be successful in sports. And as we look at what it's taking to recruit students in and to be successful, coaches, us as administrators, everyone, we're having to rethink the whole thing right now. And I don't know that it's as much of a sales approach as it truly is about meeting people where they are and really becoming a better investigator of what people are looking for out of higher ed and out of intercollegiate athletics.
I will say this, and just to touch on football for 1 second, but obviously I mentioned my son Bradley is going to be playing football and going to college here at LIU. And one of the things that I heard Coach Cooper say at one of the camps that my son was at how important the education aspect is. And I'm sure that not just for football, but it goes for every sport here at LIU. For you, when you hear the football coach who came from a big college at Alabama, comes here, for him to tell prospective players that education is important. If you don't go to class, you're not getting on the field. How much do you echo those sentiments? And not just for football, but for the other sports too?
Yeah, for LIU and for me personally, student-centered approach is the way we go. And I think actually that's probably the largest differentiator in how we do sell students to come here. LIU is an incredible experience, whether, looking at how tuition happens, tuition and fees, looking at the affordability of school here, looking at the opportunities to embark upon career and different sort of co-op opportunities. It's just, it all comes together really well. And we've had students on both Brooklyn and post-campus and student athletes that are doing phenomenally in their chosen academic and career fields.
You touched on, you must have seen my list of questions, because that's a perfect segue into what I was going to talk about. Elliot Charles, the new athletic director here at LIU. You talk about the LIU Post here, the campus we're on here on Long Island, and the campus at Brooklyn. And for those who don't know the story, a few years ago there was a merger of the sports operations, LIU in Brooklyn, CW Post here on Long Island. How do you view the balance between creating a new environment and a new meaning for the LIU Sharks, as opposed to also paying homage to the tradition that was CW Post here on Long Island?
And not to just, again, piggyback off of something I said, but creating a benchmark for success gives us a platform for everybody to contribute. So at the end of the day, there is no past history that's trying to be pushed to the background, right? Really, we're talking about what we have now. And as we talk about the past successes, a lot of them, in both Brooklyn and Post,
yeah,
I think there's an incredible opportunity to talk about what it means for student athletes now and in the future. So we really focus on what we are now and what we can be in the future, and paying homage to the past.
I love these colors.
Oh yeah,
how cool are these colors?
Some of the best in D1, in my opinion.
And it was great to see. I think it was this past football season, the uniforms being featured on ESPN, right?
Yes, that's right.
So they're great colors, and obviously is a tremendous past here on this campus and also on the Brooklyn campus. How do you plan on balancing your time between the two campuses? Because there's some sports that are here, like football and lacrosse and soccer and baseball, and you've got the LIU campus in Brooklyn where the basketball team is situated. What's the game plan and how much time you spend on each campus?
So my vantage point, my role, that's where I've had a huge opportunity for success. I regularly bounce between both campuses, and that's for many reasons. So yeah. I'm one that's not afraid to hit the road, run back and forth, support the coaches on the road. It's about being present when it's important, when the students can see you, supporting everybody. So I plan on being at both campuses regularly.
Do you have a favorite restaurant here on Long Island and also in Brooklyn?
Oh my gosh, you asked me that question. So you know what? I would say almost like it's a dating show. I'm up for choosing my top 10 here in Long Island. I won't call anybody out. Being an original Long Island guy, I don't want to date myself, so I'll leave Long Island wide open.
Okay.
I'll say in Brooklyn, I frequented a lot of spots.
There are no losers, really. There's no losers.
There's not too many here either.
Right.
I'll say though, shout out to juniors.
Junior, okay.
We did that for New Year's Eve, but there's so many great restaurants on the island and in Brooklyn and Manhattan. I can't just single out one on the interview. We'll circle back another time.
Absolutely, yes, we'll do that. We're here in the basketball gym in the Pratt Building here on the LIU Post campus, and I did mention before the basketball team plays in Brooklyn. Has there been any thought, now that you're in charge, and I don't know what your thinking on this is, but this is a beautiful facility in here.
Yep.
Has there been a thought, because there's college basketball programs that utilize multiple locations, has there been a thought to playing a game or two during the season here on the Long Island campus?
More than a thought. We want to think about how to meet our fans and the community where they are, and we love Brooklyn. Our campus, the Brooklyn campus, loves basketball. But we've had a lot of conversations across men's and women's and our other sports about how to show presence on both campuses. And actually, football just completed their summer camp out at the Brooklyn campus. So, and I know hockey does hockey in Harlem. We really try our best to cover both areas. So yeah, we're considering strongly what it would be like to play out here in Long Island for a couple games this season.
Facilities are so important, especially at the Division I level. This is a great building. The football stadium outside is a great facility, and I know that's very important for a college athletic department, is to make sure that, and that helps with the recruiting, because you want the best possible facilities to bring the athletes in. What are your thoughts on what you have here on Long Island and what you have in Brooklyn?
I think what's here in Long Island is extremely beautiful, and during our recruiting visits, we actually make an intentional effort to bring students out here, even if they're going to be primarily on the Brooklyn campus. We have tremendous opportunity related to field spaces, related to office spaces, related to just branching out. and maybe even doubling down on what we have. I mean, I come in here and the first thing I do is walk around, look around, because I see the potential on top of the beauty that we already have every day. In Brooklyn, my mind is constantly spinning about how to optimize that as well, since everything's kind of in one spot. So I'd say we have tremendous opportunity. I'm the type where I'm looking to bring in every stakeholder possible, listen, and really bring the best of the best together.
I think it would be great if the football team could play a night game. And I know that's been a sticking point here on the Long Island campus, is getting the lights installed at Bethpage Stadium. Now that you're in charge and you're taking over, how important is that to you? I know it's important to Coach Cooper, Ron Cooper, the head coach of the football program. How important is it eventually for the football program to have lights?
Well, I think the priorities of our coaches are always going to be my priorities. But like I said, getting all of the constituents involved and really having a discussion about how everybody's impacted is super important. And as the new guy, my job is to be the best listener in the world. So I think it's on my radar.
Okay.
And the best thing I can do is help move the conversations along.
Fair answer to what I thought was a really good question, and that brings us to the football program. Coach Ron Cooper coming into his third year at the helm. Taking over here, and the program has made very steady improvements over the course of the first couple of years. Last year, knocking on the door at the end of the year for a potential NEC championship, and I know that's obviously the goal coming into this year. When you look at the football program, where it is now in year 3 under Coach Cooper, how do you view the football program?
We're progressing. Coach Cooper is fully invested in the success of the program. I think we've seen steady improvement during his tenure as well. And I've known Coach Cooper for 10 years, right?
Did you share some time with him at Alabama?
At South Florida.
At South Florida?
At South Florida,
okay.
My alma mater.
Uh-huh.
And so just knowing Coop's consistency, knowing how dialed in he is to recruiting, execution of his program, everything that goes around actual on-field success. I was sitting with him today at lunch. It's just, he's dialed in, and I think I'm right there with him in trying to figure out how we can, continue along that path of incremental success.
When people look at the history of football on Long Island, obviously they talk about the predecessor to LIU, CW Post, had a great run at the Division II level. May he rest in peace, Brian Collins did a wonderful job growing that program. But when it comes to Division I football on Long Island, the conversation usually reverts back to a program that doesn't exist anymore, and that's Hofstra. And they had some great years under Joe Gardy, and Stony Brook out east has done a nice job with their program. How do you look at LIU football as it compares to the football talent on Long Island, and trying to keep kids, the best possible players from Long Island, how to keep them here now that this is an established program and growing? What's the message to the Long Island football community to keep their kids here at LIU?
I think one thing that's unique about LIU is that we have support vertically through the university. There's not every institution that can say that they're fully lockstep with their administration and with their community. And I think with LIU, we know we have that baseline of investment going on here at our institution. And uniquely, Long Island isn't the only region that LIU football serves. There are a lot of institutions in the region that are hoping and relying on LIU to be a successful football program. So I think at the end of the day, when we think about the growth of our football program, it's a great opportunity to get more young men local with exposure to people who have seen it and done it all around the country. And we have an opportunity to be best in class, first class here. And so it's just unique. We're not just a run-of-the-mill football program. We're really unique. We're standalone, and I think we could really succeed at what we're doing out here.
My guest here on Sports Bash Spotlight, presented by Ticketbash.com, is Elliot Charles, the new athletic director here at Long Island University. Moving on to some other sports that you're going to be looking at closely, and obviously in Brooklyn is the basketball team, as I mentioned before. Rod Strickland, the former New York Knicks guard, is the head coach there, and I know there's been some growing pains with that program. How happy are you with the direction of that program under Coach Strickland?
I think similar to Coach Coop, when you look at some of our recruitment, I think we're a little bit under the radar. I think many don't understand that we signed a 5-star JUCO recruit who just recently transferred from Arizona State in Malachi Davis. We have a 4-star freshman coming in from the state of Georgia, also played in Florida, in Rock Lee, Jalen Rock Lee. I know that there's been a huge turnover in his roster, but at this level in D1. It's to be expected, especially in the new NIL phase that we're in. And so, I'd say I'm really pleased with Coach Strickland and just the amount of daily commitment he's made towards just his overall program success.
You mentioned NIL. I don't mean to hop off the role we're on talking about the teams here at LIU, but you mentioned NIL, and that goes part and part to the transfer portal and all the changes in the landscape of college sports. As an athletic director, when you come to work every day, how much of that weighs on your mind, the NIL factor, the transfer portal factor, when it comes to trying to bring student athletes here to LIU?
Yeah, I think NIL is really important. I think we first look for students that are committed to being students that want to be here and compete as LIU athletes, right? They want to be Sharks. The NIL conversation.
And some parents want to be mommy Sharks and daddy sharks, right?
Yeah, we talked about that earlier. But just to be super clear, NIL is important. We want students to really have opportunities to grow their brand, but we're not going to use that as a selling point.
Right.
There has to be a commitment to the experience that is LIU. And then we try our best to engage and work with students to grow that opportunity for them. That's the best way to put it. But it does weigh heavy on my mind because the pressure for the coaches, and that's where I think we're going to be successful. I'm not going to sleep at the wheel of creativity. And so if we do have potential boosters, sponsors, partners, individuals that can embark upon a new relationship with LIU or enhance an existing one, we're going to go after it.
The lacrosse programs here at LIU have been super successful, especially the men's team the last couple of years, growing under Jordan Levine and Megan McNamara-Cafiro, growing the women's team, and they won their conference championship this year. So congratulations again. So when you look at lacrosse, you really don't have to get your hands involved in that. They seem to be doing very well.
Yeah, well-oiled machine. Yeah, blessed to be a part of it. Traveled with Meg. Coach Jordan is amazing. He's been very supportive of me, likewise them, hopefully. And hopefully we can just continue to grow that. I know we have sizable rosters, great athletes. It looks like they're out there active every day training, and they're dialed in. Our lacrosse programs are very, very strong, and that's one of the most exciting parts about this job for me.
We talked about facilities before, the facilities here, the facilities in Brooklyn, but for the hockey programs, there's no ice rink here on this campus or in Brooklyn, so they play at Northwell Health Ice Center, which is the practice facility for the New York Islanders, and they have great facilities. They just built brand new locker rooms for the men's team and the women's team, and so I understand they're going to be there for quite some time. The women's team has won conference championships. The men's team are trying to get into a conference. When you look at hockey, and Long Island never had Division I college hockey before LIU, so that's awesome that it's here, and I know that they're trying to grow the word and spread the word about college hockey here on Long Island. When you look at the hockey program, what strikes you?
I think the professionalism of our head coaches sets the standard. I think we have such a strong opportunity in hockey, and coming in the door, I was even gravitated towards it. I was there, at our matches, and it's incredible to watch how
I saw Coach Cooper at a game, and he was so excited, and he had not been around hockey that much, but he one of the playoff games, I think it was. He was. I could see him from the PA booth down by ice side. I could see him jumping around a little bit. Out there.
No, it's an exciting atmosphere, and it's something that I hope we can actually replicate across several programs. It's first class how we run it, and really dialed in to figure out how we can, figure out our competitive situation and really land in the right opportunities for conference-wise, especially for the men's.
We could probably sit here for hours talking about each of the 37 or 38 teams that you have, but I touched on a few of them. But obviously, the soccer team and the soccer program, the baseball and the softball programs, there's so many great sports here at LIU. When you look at some of the other ones that we haven't talked about, what are your impressions of the other sports that play such a huge role in the lives of the student athletes?
Yeah, so every program you just listed within the last 2 years, conference champions, right? But when we look at the water polos, the fencings, when we look at the field hockey, when we look at gymnastics, acro, tumbling, it still goes back to the budding culture that we have. We have some really strong professionals as coaches that are setting a standard. They're not just coming in and running a program. they're coming in and they're demanding success, right? They're saying they want to be national champions. They're saying that they want to win the conference. They're saying these things from day one, and we're building a path to make that attainable. So I think that's the culture that attracted me to LIU, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm trying to replicate as I deal with my colleagues and partners across campus and the community. I'm trying to let them know we have that standard here. So to have that across 37 Division I sports could make us a behemoth of a program. We can really start to get moving, you know.
We talked earlier in the interview about you being from Long Island, and you just mentioned being driven here to LIU. You're from Roosevelt here on Long Island. So would that make you the second most popular person athletic-wise from Roosevelt, being you might be just behind Dr. J.
Well, I was going to tell you, I never got to meet him, but I grew up 2 blocks away from Roosevelt High School on Conlin Drive, Conlin Ave, sorry. And I think you know, I had the chance to interact with a lot of notable sports figures growing up. My dad played semi-pro soccer. My brother played Division I. Come from a big sports family. My grandfather was part of the Olympic Committee and national governing body in Trinidad and Tobago. Like, sports has been a defining thing for me. So when I came to LIU, I realized I had never been this far north in Nassau County. I had to ask myself, why growing up was I never exposed to it? And having that perspective with my wife actually being in the program as well, we've sat down and talked many times about how to bridge that gap, because I'm sure there are a lot of kids like me in Nassau County that just need a little bit of a bus trip or a handheld over to campus to realize what a jewel they have in their backyard. And I think that bodes well for LIU's future and also many kids out there in the community.
And you know, it's interesting that you bring that up about this area of Long Island, because obviously if you live on the realm of Hempstead Turnpike or Merrick Avenue or wherever, you don't really get a chance to explore things like this. And if you go out east, not to bring up another college, but like if you ever take a ride out towards in the Stony Brook area, you're amazed of how nice Long Island is. And I'm sure that's got to be a selling point to the athletes that the sports are trying to recruit. Is it's not just here on campus, it's all of the area. And again, not to diminish Queens and Brooklyn and the Bronx, the whole area, but here on Long Island, I mean, it's majestic.
Experience. Yes, it's a different experience. What it does too, like we had a track student athlete, Lake Desai. He came to me and he said, it's part of my business program. They give me Long Island Railroad train tickets out here. Yeah. And I said, well, have you taken advantage of them yet? He said, no, but I really want to at the end of the season. And this campus enhances the overall experience for students on both campuses. And Brooklyn does the same for the students that are here, but there are students that want to experience all of it, and they express that. So I think a lot of our new coaches and our existing coaches, but some of our new coaches are really starting to learn that right now. They're giving that feedback right away. The first time they come to this campus, they're like, my gosh, it's so beautiful, you know?
Last thing, you've on the job a few weeks now as of the fact that the time that we're taping the show. What's on your plate immediately right now? Obviously it's the summertime and school is out for the summer, but that never stops you as an administrator and the coaches from working through the summer to get ready for the fall and ultimately into the winter. What's on your plate right now? What's the most important thing since you've gotten the job and rolled up your sleeves and gotten going?
Yeah, the most important thing has been really being intentional about what looking like a calming force is. And really coaching the coaches, right? Being there to serve them and ask them what they need. So right away taking in the meetings in this new role, new perspective, and asking them what's on their priorities. Just getting organized around student athlete enrollment for the fall, closing out existing deals, pending offers that we've had as far as partnership and marketing sponsorships. And then taking a step back to really look at our big facilities, capital plan opportunities, and then going back to where we left off in Brooklyn with just some basic needs for basketball and some of the other sports as far as moving things around, right? It's really just been an initial kind of house cleaning thing and a culture creation opportunity. And just sitting down to say, okay, when are we going to be able to meet this summer before the 24-25 year kicks full into effect? So just getting organized has been the biggest thing.
And how instrumental was Dr. Klein in bringing you here first as the deputy athletic director and ultimately hiring you as the athletic director?
Yeah, so Dr. Klein was a huge selling point for me. When I took the job as deputy director of athletics, I had left Chicago State as athletic director, and I had actually been in a consulting space for a year while I was touring around the country with my daughter, who's an actress. And I said it earlier, I had to be really intentional about getting back into the business because it's changed so much, right?
Yeah.
But when I had a chance to really learn about Dr. Klein's vision, and just the opportunity even to really hear her style of leadership and get to know the university, it was a huge part why I joined. Now as athletic director, Dr. Klein has given me feedback, guidance. She's instrumental in it's my daily success. So I've had a great opportunity to really pick her brain, give her feedback, partner with her on things, and the senior staff as well. So she's a really big part of the overall success of LIU athletics, and I'm appreciative for the opportunity as well.
I can't thank you enough
Thanks,
for spending
Pete.
some time.
Yes.
Congratulations, and welcome full-time as the athletic director, permanent. You were full-time, but full-time as the athletic director here at LIU. Elliot Charles, my guest here on this edition of Sports Bash Spotlight, presented by TicketBash.com. I'm Peter Schwartz. Thanks for watching. Go Sharks. We'll catch you again next time.